The Mortuary Temple of Hatshepsut rises from the cliffs of Deir el-Bahari in Luxor, Egypt. Built for one of ancient Egypt's most powerful female pharaohs, this temple was not her tomb, but a sacred place for worship, offerings, ceremonies, and preserving her divine legacy. This closer view of Hatshepsut's mortuary temple shows the transition from its grand exterior into the more sacred interior spaces. The columns, decorated walls, and dark doorway lead toward chambers once used for rituals, offerings, and religious scenes. Even weathered, this area still reveals how detailed and powerful the temple complex once was. Inside Hatshepsut's temple, these painted reliefs reveal how colorful ancient Egyptian temples once were. The procession of figures shows ceremony, order, offerings, and royal power, while the surviving reds, blues, and yellows give us a rare glimpse of the temple's original brilliance and sacred storytelling. This wider view shows more of Hatshepsut's painted reliefs and their layered storytelling. The wall is arranged in horizontal bands, with processions below and larger royal or divine figures above. Even with damage and modern supports, the surviving colors reveal how vibrant, symbolic, and sacred this temple once was. This closer wall section reveals carved hieroglyphs, faded color, and a powerful ritual scene. Along the bottom, repeated Ankh symbols represent life, protection, and renewal. Above them, the larger figure and inscriptions once told a sacred story of offerings, divine blessing, and eternal royal power. At Hatshepsut's temple, the portico is the shaded area where the stone columns stand in front of the decorated walls, creating a passage between the open courtyard and the inner temple chambers. Think of it like a grand covered porch or columned hallway. This covered portico shows the temple shifting from open exterior into sacred interior space. The square pillars frame the passage, while the blue star-covered ceiling symbolizes the heavens above. Around it, painted figures, inscriptions, and colored reliefs create a full ritual environment for Hatshepsut's divine legacy. Deeper inside the temple, the pillars frame painted reliefs filled with offerings, hieroglyphs, and sacred imagery. The blue star-covered ceiling represents the heavens above, while the offering scenes symbolically provided Hatshepsut and the gods with what they needed for eternal life and continued worship. This decorated doorway marks a sacred threshold inside Hatshepsut's temple. Reliefs, hieroglyphs, and painted figures surround the entrance, showing scenes of divine blessing, protection, and ritual exchange. Even beyond the doorway, decoration continues, proving this was not just a passage, but another sacred chamber. This chapel wall features Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification, protection, and the afterlife. Even through the damage, his black jackal head and painted body remain clear. Surrounded by hieroglyphs, ritual scenes, and colored borders, this space reflects the temple's funerary and sacred purpose. This side view gives a clearer look at the Anubis chapel. Anubis stands beside a decorated doorway, marking a sacred threshold into the inner chamber. Despite the damaged plaster, his black jackal head, red body, and surrounding ritual scenes still reveal the chapel's connection to protection and the afterlife. This passage shows how the Anubis chapel connects into a deeper ritual chamber. The painted Anubis figure continues beside the doorway, while worn hieroglyphs, decorated walls, and the blue star-covered ceiling surround the space, creating a unified, sacred environment tied to protection, worship, and the afterlife. This smaller chamber inside the Anubis chapel feels like a sacred shrine. On the back wall, Anubis appears again, reinforcing themes of protection, funerary ritual, and the afterlife. Above him, the dark blue star ceiling creates the feeling of a symbolic night sky over the sacred space. This closer view into the Anubis shrine shows a small, protected, sacred space. Anubis stands on the back wall as guardian of the chamber, while the dark blue star ceiling symbolizes the heavens above. Even damaged, the room still reveals its powerful funerary and afterlife purpose. This doorway marks a sacred threshold within the Anubis chapel. Anubis stands beside the entrance as a guardian of protection and the afterlife, while the reliefs above show a ritual exchange or divine blessing. The star-covered ceiling keeps the chamber connected to the heavens. This painted relief focuses on an offering table scene inside the chapel. Rows of vessels, food, floral forms, and sacred objects represent abundance, worship, and eternal renewal. Beneath the star-covered ceiling, these offerings symbolically provided for the gods and royal cult in the afterlife. This wider view reveals the full offering scene with a seated deity facing rows of ritual goods. Vessels, food, plants, and sacred objects were painted to symbolically nourish the gods and royal cult forever. Even damaged, the surviving color shows the richness of temple worship. This vertical view connects the offering scene below with the sacred ceiling above. Stacked ritual goods face the seated deity, while upper bands of hieroglyphs and protective imagery frame the wall. Overhead, the dark blue star ceiling transforms the chamber into a symbolic heavenly space. This upper chamber view highlights the star-covered ceiling, symbolizing the heavens above the sacred space. Beneath it, painted borders, hieroglyphs, vessels, and sacred symbols frame the offering wall. Even with heavy damage, the surviving colors show how this chamber once felt fully decorated and cosmic. This upper corner shows how the chamber's decoration wrapped across the ceiling and walls. The dark blue ceiling with yellow stars represents the heavens, while the colored corner border framed the sacred scenes below. Even with heavy damage, the remaining traces reveal a once fully painted ritual space. This damaged wall panel still preserves traces of the original ritual scene. A painted ceremonial object, partial red-painted figure, hieroglyphic columns, and framed borders reveal how organized the decoration once was. Above it, the star-covered ceiling continues, contrasting the damaged wall with the chamber's surviving sacred design. This wider view brings the chapel doorway and surrounding reliefs together. A ceremonial object stands beside the entrance, while figures above appear in a sacred exchange or blessing. Around the doorway, hieroglyphs frame the passage, and the star-covered ceiling connects the whole space to the heavens. This straight-on view looks into the small Anubis shrine. Hieroglyphs, ankhs, cartouches, and sacred signs frame the doorway as a protected threshold. Inside, Anubis stands beneath a dark blue star ceiling, guarding the chamber and reinforcing its connection to the afterlife. Inside the small Anubis shrine, the jackal-headed god stands on the back wall holding a staff, marking the chamber as a protected funerary space. Hieroglyphs, sidewall figures, and faded pigments show this was a fully decorated sacred room within the larger chapel. These carved hieroglyphic bands frame the entrance to the Anubis shrine. Ankhs, birds, sun forms, and cartouches surround the doorway, connecting the chamber to royal identity, sacred text, and divine protection. Traces of color show these symbols were once painted and visually powerful. This close exterior view shows Anubis standing along the chapel wall, holding a staff as a divine guardian. Despite the damaged plaster, his black jackal head, red limbs, and painted details remain visible. The open side view connects this sacred chapel back to the temple's larger colonnaded façade. These Osiride statues show Hatshepsut in the form of Osiris, linking her with kingship, resurrection, and eternal life. Built into the temple facade like living pillars, they guarded the upper terrace entrances while displaying her divine authority. Traces of paint reveal how colourful they once were. This dark stone doorway marks an important transition into the temple's deeper sacred space. Its carved hieroglyphs, divine figures, and darker stone separate it from the lighter facade, creating a powerful entrance from the bright exterior into a more enclosed ritual chamber. This faded relief wall preserves only fragments of its original painted scene. Faint red figures still move in procession across horizontal bands, suggesting ritual activity or offering bearers. Though heavily damaged, the remaining traces reveal how much storytelling once covered these temple walls. This view looks from a darker interior doorway back towards the open terrace. The carved hieroglyphs and cartouches frame the passage as sacred, while the faded wall reliefs show traces of lost decoration. Through the opening, the temple shifts from enclosed ritual space back into the bright colonnaded exterior. This narrow inner chamber leads into a deeper, shrine-like space within Hatshepsut's temple. At the back, a painted deity sits surrounded by hieroglyphs and faded decoration. Even with heavy damage, the star-painted ceiling and sacred imagery show this was an important ritual chamber. This entrance leads into a narrow shrine corridor, raised slightly above the surrounding floor. Faded reliefs, hieroglyphs, and cartouches frame the doorway, marking it as sacred. At the back, the painted deity draws the eye inward, turning the chamber into a focused ritual space. This long sanctuary corridor feels like a sacred pathway beneath the heavens. The blue star-vaulted ceiling symbolizes the night sky, while decorated walls filled with ankhs, offerings, and hieroglyphs guide the eye toward the divine scene at the far end.
These videos take a long time to create, so your support through liking, commenting, and subscribing truly means the world to us here at Megalith Alignments.